covering the housekeeping task for us. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Jack Sutton. I am one of the 3 co-chairs for the Ohio River Recreation Trail. I kind of represent the Indiana shoreline, if you will. I live in Aurora, Indiana, part of Dearborn County. My cohorts are David Wicks, who was just speaking, and Brewster Rhodes, and they'll introduce themselves shortly. But what we hope to accomplish today, and not keep you too long, probably keep it to an hour or less, and to just provide an overview, kind of a high-level overview of the Rivertown review process. This is now round 2, so we've gone through 3 communities late last year, early this year, and now we're starting into round 2. So we're so thrilled that all of you have applied and want to participate in this process. It's a great way to get to know other communities and a great way for us to get to know your community and help promote what's happening along the Ohio River. To get us started, I'd like just to go around the room and let each of us introduce ourselves, your name and the community and organization you represent. So I'll sort of be the host and invite everybody to introduce themselves, and I'll go right back to David Wicks next. David?
Yes, my name's David Wicks, and I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm chair of the River City Paddle Sports Board, which is an environmental education organization on Louisville's waterfront, and work with Jack and Brewster on the Ohio River Recreation Trail.
Thank you, David. Brewster?
My name is Brewster Rhodes. I live in Cincinnati most of the time, Key West right now, but I'm the one of the 3 co-chairs, the Ohio co-chair for the trail, and sort of come through an organization that helped to start this operation called Adventure Crew, which works to get urban teens in Cincinnati out into nature to paddle, fish, hike, camp, etc. So it's wonderful to be with y'all. I'm a river rat, like so many of you probably.
Thank you, Brew. Russ Clark, can you unmute?
Yes, Russ Clark with the National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Systems Program. I am work out of Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, and I assist communities to realize their visions and creating trail systems such as this. Thank you.
Awesome. Steve Miller.
My name's Steve Miller. I live in Augusta, Kentucky, and I run, I co-own with my wife, Cynthia, an Airbnb called South Bank Station on the River. We're pleased to be with you this morning.
Thank you, Steve. Great to have you. Janet?
I am Janet Hunt. I'm the tourism director for Augusta and Bracken County. And I met Brewster and David 2 years ago. And it's been a pleasure working with this group. I enjoyed it and learning so much. So,
thank you, Janet. I'm looking at Wilma Rosenberger. I'm not sure if Wilma's on there or if it's Andrea, but the Switzerland County team.
I'm Andrea Kappas,
Okay.
and I'm with Switzerland County Tourism.
Great, thank you. Glad you're here. Jody Robinson.
Morning, I'm Jody Robinson, and I'm with the DeVue Good Foundation, and we're just trying to make bicycling and being a pedestrian safer.
And that's in Covington, right, DeVue?
DeVue is in Covington. We do projects in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati.
Great, glad you're here. Debbie Smith with Dearborn County Tourism.
Hi, everybody. Debbie Smith, Executive Director for Dearborn County. Happy to be here, and thank you all for having us on board.
Absolutely. Mike Perleberg.
Hi, Mike Perleberg, Executive Director for One Dearborn, the local economic development organization for Dearborn County, and excited to be getting started with this program and getting Lawrenceburg and the city of Aurora involved, as well as Dearborn County Tourism. And Brewster, I was in Key West on St. Patrick's Day. If I knew you were there, I would have swung by and said hello.
That's great. We'll talk later, Mike.
Derek Schimmel, you might get the award for traveling the furthest this morning.
Yep, all the way from Denver, Colorado. So pardon the wet hair and the just out of the shower look. Derek Schimmel with the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail and the National Park Service. We've been working closely with Brewster and David and Jack, Andrea, Russ, the whole team here. Our mission at the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail is very, very similar to what the Ohio River Recreation Trail is doing out east. And we are just doing it all from Pittsburgh to Oregon. So a lot of the names here, a lot of the folks I've spoken with in the past. For those I haven't, it's wonderful to meet you. And yeah, happy to be a part of this team.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks for getting up early.
Yeah.
Andrea?
Hi, I'm Andrea Ireland. I also am with the Rivers Trails Conservation Assistance Program of the National Park Service. I'm located in the Ohio field office, but working with Russ on developing the Ohio River Recreation Trail and doing these Rivertown reviews.
Thank you. John Smith, welcome this morning.
Great, yeah. I'm the Executive Director of Switzerland County Tourism. And this is my first experience with you all, so I'm very excited about it.
Glad to have you here. Hi, Guinevere, good morning.
Hey everybody, Guinevere Emery with the City of Lawrenceburg. I've been in municipal government representing town, 2 cities, and the county since 2011. Co-created and sponsor the River Cities Bike Share Program, municipally owned by 2 cities here, Aurora and Lawrenceburg. Very much involved with the trail systems here as far as improvements, studies, feasibility studies, trail extension projects, and on the executive committee of Tri-State Trails. So really excited to see the developments here. Thanks.
Thank you, Guinevere. Dinah Bird.
Hello, I'm Dinah Bird, and I own the Baker Bird Winery in Augusta, Kentucky, which is the oldest, largest wine cellar in America and the only winery to have survived a Civil War battle, as well as one of the earliest sites that we can document that bourbon was made. So I have a winery and distillery. And I want to do a shout out to Steve Miller with the Airbnb. I had a couple come in from Michigan that picked out Augusta and stayed at your Airbnb this last weekend, and they had a great time. So I'm delighted to be here and think this is a very important initiative. The Ohio River is just such a tremendous resource in many, many ways. So I'm just delighted that this organization exists and that we can all pull together and move forward with some tremendous opportunities.
Thank you. We have one other person on the line, and I don't see a name. It's a number 537-821. Could you introduce yourself, please? And you're on mute. Okay, I'm not sure that they're having some problems with their microphone, so maybe we'll circle back. Thank you if you need to text in. With that, I'd like us to just
Hey, Jack, it's Chris Shack. I see in the chat.
Okay.
And Chris owns Shack's Yaks, a kayak and canoe rental company. And we've been working with him. I know he's been involved with Augusta with pop-up kayak rentals, and a great asset to what we're planning to do. Good to have you, Chris.
Thank you, Brew, for checking that. With this, I'm going to ask both David and Brewster to give us a little bit of a high-level overview on the Ohio River Recreation Trail, a little bit of its history and what's unique about that. And I'll let David start, and he can hand it off to Brewster.
Well, thank you very much, Jack. And once again, it's a pleasure to be here. I have visited all of your communities and look forward to working with you down the road. You know, as I said, we have an environmental education center and paddle sport education center on the Ohio River here in Louisville. And many years ago, we partnered with Brewster Roads up there in Cincinnati with the Cincinnati Paddlefest. Several times we've paddled from Cincinnati on down to Louisville and finally convinced them to join us in a 30-foot Voyager canoe to paddle straight through, which we did in about 30 hours or so. And during that time, we shared our enthusiasm for trails, our enthusiasm for recreation, and our commitment to really think about the Ohio River as a recreational venue as well as a commercial hub. and we wanted to serve dual purposes, which it has done for many, many years. Just like this picture behind me, this is a crew of rowers recreating maybe 1880 at the Falls of the Ohio. And so people have been doing this for a long time. And what we wanted to do was to see if there was some synergy that we could work with the National Park Service and other federal entities to bring more attention to the river and to help us rebuild and to think about that next phase. Personally, in Louisville, we're really interested in that re-engagement with the river. We're spending a fortune in Louisville, as many other communities are, on our sewer system, on our urban water systems. And as they get cleaner, people recreate on them more. And so it's a public health issue, but it's also an access issue. And so we're learning a lot from Cincinnati folks, and we're learning a lot about the connections that we have with all of you in the different river towns. I was just up in Vevey, and you know, our past mayor, maybe in the 1940s, lived in Vevey for a long time. And so these connections are just fascinating. You know, another man I work with, Steve Henry, and his wonderful wife, Heather, lived and have homes in Augusta. And so it's just neat to see these connections, and we want to build upon those connections to make it safer. We're not guaranteeing any safety, but we want to make it safer, and we want to support everybody's work. So we just believe in synergy. It works. So I'm just a river rat who loves the river, and I want to share it with everybody. So that's how we got started, and we did apply to Russ and Andrea with the National Park Service, and we've did that last year and have had that technical assistance that's worked out very well. We're also working very closely with other federal agencies, U.S. Fish and Wildlife and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the EPA, the Coast Guard. And so we're trying to be pretty broad in our thinking about where to go. There's no immediate answers for today, but we're really looking for the long term. So how can we not only appreciate and get out on the river, but at the same time plan for recreating locally. That's what our mission is, and recreating locally, and having folks from Louisville go to Dearborn County and hang out, or go explore some of the beautiful areas outside of Vevey and those two beautiful historic centers, and it's a history thing. So that's my pitch, and Brewster's going to talk a little bit about the mapping and some of our specific initiatives.
Well, thank you, David. It's one of the great fun things about this project is working with such interesting people who bring so much knowledge and experience and enthusiasm to the table, like all of you. For those of you I haven't met, I look forward to interacting with you over the next few months here in this phase 2 of our Rivertown Review program. But I live part-time on a houseboat in Cincinnati on the river, and helped to start 20 years ago. This will be our 20th anniversary, the Ohio River Paddlefest, which brings about 2,000 people to the Ohio to paddle 9 miles on a nice Saturday in August, from one side of Cincinnati through downtown to the other. That is a very unique experience for folks. Gives them a real intimate, personal interaction experience with the river. And, you know, it's hard to get people to care about something unless they've had some direct experience with it. And so Paddlefest has helped to make that happen. We also do an annual swim across the river in Cincinnati at the downtown, over to Newport on the levee and back. And it just raises increased public awareness about the river, and as well about, frankly, its health. So most people think it's dirty and dangerous. The truth is, most of the time, it's clean and safe. And so what we really envision is, trying to help promote to folks in this region, and frankly, much beyond this region, and ideally nationally, that we have this very unique network of river towns, of recreational opportunities that connect people to those river towns. In some ways, the river from Portsmouth to Louisville, West Point, actually, a little bit beyond Louisville, is like a giant national park, a linear national park, with these incredible, unique communities that have deep history, going back to Native Americans, of course, and to pioneer days opening up the West, to the Industrial Revolution, to the Underground Railroad. There's significant Civil War history, obviously Lewis and Clark history. And then you start getting into how the role these communities played in the shipbuilding industry, starting the machine tool industry in America along the river. And unfortunately, communities along the river turned their backs to it because it was, again, seen as dirty and dangerous, a problem to manage. And increasingly, as you all are doing in your communities and have done for a number of years, is turning yourselves to the river, recognizing that people want to live where they can view and interact with the river, enjoy its beauty, its majesty. But again, we have the opportunity to promote the recreational opportunities. So whether you're into paddling, into power boating, into hiking, into cycling along the shores of the river, into fishing, into nature appreciation and bird watching, we have it all right here. And during this, as we've experienced with this COVID situation, folks are less interested in traveling, sorry about this, Derek, out to Colorado or to other parts of the world. They're increasingly looking for places they can get in the car and spend 2 or 3 or 4 days exploring. And so in some ways, what we are really about is marketing what you all are all about, what you have to offer, whether it's wineries, distilleries, local food opportunities, from farmers markets to restaurants to the camping facilities you have, to the great parks you have on the river and just off the river, to the tributaries that so many of you are located on. But helping people say, gee, maybe instead of going to some other place, I can spend a 2 or 3 or 4 day car, boat, cycling, even hiking trip along this corridor. And in the course of that, learn about history, learn about the unique cultures, learn about the local food scene, etc. So what we've done so far is a number of things, but we have a website, which I think you've all probably taken a look at. And if I can share my screen, can you see what I just posted? No. Wait a minute. Well, I'm sorry, folks. I don't have the authority to share my screen. Maybe I do now. Okay. Can you see? All right. Can you see what I just posted?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Well, this is, of course, the website that I'm sure you all have taken a look at, that we put together. We're all volunteers, and we got people to donate their time to make this happen. So it's not as professional as maybe it would be ideal for it to be. But the bottom line is we have a website, we have a Facebook page, as you all know. We've been doing a series of webinars that help to promote interaction and dialogue about the history, the culture, the recreational opportunities, some of the challenges of the river, which have been very engaging. And we've had, in some cases, 250 people on these webinars up and down the river. It's been a wonderful way to connect. But the website will just give you a feel for how we see this project, trying to promote world-class outdoor recreation along this incredible corridor connecting the towns by water and land trails. That's basically the concept here. So the website will review with you overall what we're trying to accomplish, some additional information about our vision and goals, which we're updating, by the way, with information about boating and cycling, more detailed information about the river itself. And then we have this section about the towns along the river, which we're constantly in the process of updating. But this is a way to share with folks who may not be familiar, where are these communities along the Ohio from Portsmouth to West Point, Kentucky? And these are 2 different segments of the map, but and if you're not on here, yeah, you are on here, so it's not a problem. And then we have a way to sequentially mark what communities are where, with links to those communities' websites. So you hit on Augusta and you go, Janet, right to you all. All right, so people can immediately connect to see what you all have going. And then we, have some videos, etc., on here. But one of the most unique things we have done, I'll show you, by the way, we have our partners here. And just to give you a feel, if you're not already on here as a partner, these are our founding partners. And then these are another 50 organizations, including Explore Augusta, et cetera, which have officially signed up to be partners with us. And it doesn't cost any money, but it's a way to show your support for what we're trying to accomplish, with then links embedded to your local website as well. But that's growing. We have another 4 or 5 ready to partner with us shortly. And then, in some ways, the most unique thing we've developed so far under the leadership of OKI, the Regional Council of Governments, is the digital guide to the Ohio. And unfortunately, since I am in Key West, when I click on the guide itself, it shows that I'm here in Key West because it's all located, digitally located. But it'd be good to check out this digital guide, a little video when you get a chance. It's very short, but it'll explain to you what we're trying to do, which is to provide in an easy to access format on your smartphone as you're cycling in your car in the middle of the river in real time. It shows where you are, but it will indicate all along the river where are the fuel docks, the marinas, the campgrounds, the boat ramps, the parks, and any other historical sites of interest. And we're building this thing out, but it has become pretty robust. So essentially is a digital guide to exploring the corridor. And it's being seen by the Coast Guard as a national model, because also embedded in this is the AIS barge tracking system. So you can see in real time, every 15 seconds, it's updated where the barges are, their name, their speed, the direction they're moving. So for safety and just for in understanding the barge industry, which is so critical, it's a very unique tool, and we're working to expand it further up and down the Ohio and with the tributaries as well. So I'll stop right here, but just to note that our effort with you all to explore with you, working with you all to help you all do what you're already doing, but maybe add some more objective eyes, helping each of the communities shine as their apples shine up, so that they become even more attractive to folks interested in venture tourism. So if you want to go and spend 3 days on the river, where can you stay in these different wonderful communities? What can you do? And we look forward to working with you to be helpful in any way we possibly can. And then with your help, market what you have to offer. So thank you.
Thank you, Brewster. Appreciate that. Hey, we're about midway through our hour. Just want to touch base on the agenda. I'm going to introduce some of our partners from the National Park Service, as well as the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. But we're also going to carve out a little bit of time for each community to tell us and each other about what you do. So we'll do it in kind of upstream to downstream order. We'll have Augusta, Dearborn County, and Switzerland County. But before we do that, I'm going to hand it off to the National Park Service team, Andrea Ireland and Russ Clark. Andrea, can you tell us a little bit about what you do for the national parks?
Sure. I'm sharing my screen. Thank you, Jack. So we are the National Park Service, you know, the big national parks. And I overheard Brewster saying he wanted to make this a national park, or it's national park quality. Well, it already is, and Derek will talk about that. Our program, which is part of the National Park Service, really extends the mission of the National Park Service, the second half especially, which says that the Park Service cooperates with partners like you to extend the benefits of natural and cultural resource conservation and outdoor recreation throughout the country and the world. Now, I should have that memorized, but I don't. And so we go out into communities and help them to get projects done in the areas of conservation and outdoor recreation. We do a variety of projects. We work on water trails, we work on land trails, excuse me, we work on regional trail networks like Tri-State Trails, and we do community engagement, we do organizational development. Some of us are landscape architects, not myself, but Russ is, so we can help in those regards. And really, we're trying to help communities to see the benefits of all of the possibilities. So We go where we're asked to go, and we were invited by Brewster and David to come and help develop the Ohio River Recreation Trail. And so Russ and I are doing this as a team. They get the benefit of 2 RTCA folks. And we've been at this for over a year now, and developed this Rivertown Review program that Russ will talk more about, in helping you to discover all the benefits and the potential of the Ohio River Recreation Trail. So you as a community can also apply for RTCA assistance if you see an opportunity for that after we do our Rivertown reviews, and you'll learn more about us then as well. That's all I have.
Thank you, Andrea. I'd like to introduce Russ Clark. Russ is also with the National Park Service and is going to give an overview on our Rivertown review process.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for joining us. The Rivertown review process evolved out of the dream with the Ohio River Recreation Trail of how we can reach out to communities and help them along the river corridor. So our objective is providing fresh eyes on enhancing tourism and outdoor recreation in your local communities. And all of your communities have submitted a request for a free quick assessment of your community recreation resources, facilitating a community brainstorming process and the creation of a list of resources based on the Rivertown Review Team observations and community input. Originally, we were going to do this as a 2-day workshop in each community, but COVID has required us to look at different avenues, and so we do it with individuals visiting the community and then doing an online virtual workshop during an afternoon session or morning session with the community. And all of your communities have been approved, as Jack said, for round 2 with our process, and you have all agreed to provide some information about your community assets, the maps illustrating the locations of those assets, a list of meeting participants that will be involved in the process, and then you will be willing to schedule a workshop with us, and we invite you to participate in the Ohio River Recreation Trail Rivertown Review Summit that will be held in the fall, where we bring all the communities along the Ohio River together to share and learn more about what the Rivertown review process has discovered for individual communities and how everyone can benefit from that experience. The Rivertown review process is broken up in some basic steps. First is the desktop review, where individuals and volunteers from our program will be evaluating the internet presence of your community. Can a individual or family find what they need to utilize the outdoor recreation resources in your community through the internet? Can they find places to stay, restaurants, as well as can they identify the cultural and historical resources that your community has to offer? Can they plan a weekend or a 3 or 4 day adventure in your community by just your internet presence? So that part is part of the evaluation. Another part of the evaluation is the community visits, where people come and actually enjoy your community. They will cycle, they will kayak, they will utilize the outdoor adventure services that you have to offer to experience it. And can they find their way around in the community to those resources? Can they find places to stay, etc.? So it's a set of feet on the ground, eyes looking at what you have to offer, and then being able to provide some recommendations based on those experiences. We will be doing a virtual workshop with community input. We will ask you to identify your favorite places in your community. We will do a SWOT analysis, a brainstorming of short and long-term ideas to consider for the community, and we'll be capturing individual stories. We ask the participants to identify what a perfect day visiting my community would be like. We like to see the narrative, the stories. You know your community, you know what those special places are. We want to discover that through your narratives. And then the the Rivertown Review Team will prepare a summary of a report of listings of the community input, the long-term, short-term recommendations, the community stories again, and this document will be provided to the community in electronic and hard copy, and we will be providing a list of references for the communities to further explore opportunities. In round one, we have worked with New Richmond in Ohio, Carlton, Kentucky, and Rising Sun in Indiana. We also did a special event with Southern Tourism that included 3 cities of Jeffersonville, Clarksville, and New Albany. The workshops are all completed. We're still in the process of preparing the summary reports and moving those forward. And that pretty much is a quick overview of the Rivertown review process. We want to provide those fresh eyes on how you can enhance that tourism and outdoor recreation venue in your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Appreciate that. One of the extra benefits this Rivertown review process has produced is our association with the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. And again, I want to introduce Derek Schimmel. He's with Solimar International, which is a consultant to the National Park Service that helps with ecotourism, geotourism along the trail. So Derek, if you don't mind, would you just take a minute or so, tell a little bit about what you do for the National Park Service?
Absolutely, yeah, and I'll share my screen here in a second so we can show you our geotourism platform. But thank you so much. It's good to see everybody. My name is Derek Schimmel, again with Solimar International. Our organization, we are a sustainable tourism consulting firm. So we work primarily with developing nations around the world to help them utilize tourism as a way to build economies, conserve environment, and sustain culture. We do have some projects here locally in the US, and we're really excited to work with NPS and Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail on this one. Something Solimar has been doing for about 10 years is a methodology called geotourism. You may have heard of it with National Geographic. It's a platform that they put together with a lot of different regions in the US and beyond the US. Essentially what it does, it allows us to promote local businesses, local sites, local attractions inside a destination and steer people away from the McDonald's and Marriott's of the world to keep the money inside of the community and really help to promote that current culture. When Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail heard about this, they said, this is exactly what we need with a trail. You know, people know NPS as the Yellowstones, Glacier National Park, Acadia, Shenandoah. A lot of folks around the US don't know that NPS is also the stewards of many historical trails, one of which being the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. And this is one of the biggest ones. So it stretches all the way from Pittsburgh to Oregon. For those of you that don't know, it was always from Wood River, Illinois to Oregon, to the Pacific. In 2019, with an act of Congress, the Eastern expansion was added and it's moved the starting point to Pittsburgh. So that's how the Ohio River got to get involved in this and all of the riverside communities. With that, Solimar has always been the backbone of these geotourism projects. So National Geographic's name was attached to it, but Solimar was always the engine that made everything go in working with the different communities and the sites and attractions. So we have the background. This is really probably our biggest geotourism project that we've taken on, stretching 4,900 road miles, pretty much the length of the US. So I'm going to share my screen here and give you an idea of exactly what it is we are doing. That was kind of the why. This is the what. You all see my screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, so this is our website. Everything that we're doing is based around lewisandclark.travel, which is what we're seeing here. And any business, any site, any community is welcomed to be on this, so long as they are geographically near to the trail, which in most of your cases you are, being along the Ohio River, or if there is a cultural relevance. So you see a couple of points here in Oklahoma. This is a native tribe that was initially along the trail, but has since moved. But because their story relates to Lewis and Clark, we have them as part of our platform. It's completely free. Anybody, any business, any site attraction, restaurant, bed and breakfast, museum is welcome to join us for free. It's completely funded by NPS. And what this does is it allows you to have a point on our map so that when people are traveling the trail, they see exactly where they can go and what they can do, not only relating to Lewis and Clark, but current culture. What this site does really is act as a conduit between the past and the present, so that if somebody is visiting Vivi, for example, and they want to see some of the historical attractions, they can go on this website, see where to go and what to do. 5 o'clock rolls around, they can come back to this website and find out where to have a local beer, sit along the river for a great sunset, all of those great things that the community has to offer. So you can see here, zoom in, we have quite a few sites all along the trail, especially in Ohio River. We have 726 nominations right now on our map, on our way to 1,000. So fingers crossed that we'll get that mark by June 5th, which is National Trails Day, when we're going to launch this to the general public. Anybody can see it now, but we're yet to actually promote it. And then if you zoom in really deep, you can see all of the different points on the map. Looks like I went a little bit too far east here. So if we move here in Indiana, you can see all different spots. This is in VV. As I said, we have loads of different sites in Rising Sun and Louisville. If you zoom in and in, you can see what some of these sites look like. So one in Rising Sun, I'm going to have two examples real quick. This is actually the community page. So if you're a community leader, as many of you are, you can build a page for the community itself so that people can see what the community is and what it's all about. We see here exactly where it is on the map guide. And then specifically, there's actual sites and attractions. So this is the York statue in Louisville. York is one of the main people that made the Lewis and Clark expedition go successfully. He was a former slave that Lewis and Clark brought along with them, and he was really instrumental in allowing them to get back. It's a really interesting story. He wasn't granted his freedom until 18 years after the mission ended. But again, this is the type of site that you can see exactly beyond the community, whereas this is the community page. This is an actual site page. And we have, again, pages like this for restaurants, museums, discovery centers, all different types of places that people are going to go visit, and some other pertinent information as well. So I'm going to stop right there because I can get really deep into this and I don't want to take too much time. But again, I've had this conversation with a lot of you. We would love and welcome as many nominations as we can get from your communities. And the more, the merrier. The more we can get people in and pointing them in the right direction of what to do when they're in their towns, the more we'll be able to enhance sustainability via tourism. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Derek. That was great. So now we would like to hear from you all. We'll start with Augusta, but my question, if you don't mind, is what is your, tell us a little bit about your community, what makes it unique, and then maybe share what your expectations are for this process, how we can meet those expectations over the next couple of months. And then as we wrap up the hour, Russ and I will do a little wrap up, save a little time for Q&A, and let you know what the next steps will be. So if you don't mind, Janet, I'm going to hand it off to you, and you can tell us a little bit about Augusta.
Okay, thank you. Augusta is famous for, since I've been on board, it's like hospitality from the heart. We're right on the river, so we have a lot to offer. We have restaurants. We have the Baker Bird Winery. We have Airbnbs are coming popular in our area, in the little town of Augusta. So we have brought on kayaking. I'm working with Chris Sack on that. And so we're hoping to maybe offer, looking at a kayaking ramp for that, to improve that. I would like walking trails, bicycle trails, and maybe add more boat docks to our area. We are famous for our unforgettable sunsets in the evenings. People come down on Riverside Drive and walk and take pictures. And I hope that you all can see those on our Facebook page that are posted every day or so. And we also have the Jenny and Ferry that everybody likes to transport from the Ohio side to Kentucky side. And people can make a round trip with that. They can leave Cincinnati, come up Route 52. They can stop at New Richmond. They can come on up and visit, cross the ferry over to Augusta, and then take the AA, then go back to Cincinnati. And I encourage that trip very well when people call, because while they're here, they can shop, they can dine, and just enjoy the day right here. I've only lived here a short time, so I'm thinking Steve Miller, Dinah Bird, Gretchen and Doug here, they probably can add a whole lot more than what I can, because they've lived here all their lives. So, but to improve the Riverside Drive look, that is one of my goals as being a tourism director. Maybe add more benches so people can sit and relax and enjoy the sunset or enjoy the sunrise in the mornings. So we're a very friendly town, And so I enjoy working with these people in many groups to make things happen. So.
Thank you so much, Janet. Anybody else from Augusta want to chime in, or?
This is Dinah Bird at Baker Bird Winery, and I will say that Augusta is a quaint, charming town. It was nominated by USA Today newspaper in 2015, if I recall, as one of the most picturesque, town in Kentucky. And it's everyone's small town. So just as Janet mentioned, it's a hospitality from the heart.
Thank you, Dinah. That's great. Well, I think I will hand it off to Mike Perleberg with the Dearborn County team, and let Mike, and if Guinevere wants to jump in too, just tell us a little bit about what's happening in Dearborn County.
Sure. Is it possible I can share my screen? I got a presentation to share. I worked really hard on it, so.
David, can we have give Mike permission?
Yeah, you should have permission already. There should be a share button down at the bottom.
All right. Okay, is everybody seeing the slideshow?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let me make this full
You
screen.
might want to go to slideshow mode.
What's going on here?
There we go.
Do you see it now, the full screen or not?
It's full screen now.
Beautiful.
See that changing? Did you see the slide change?
No, it's still looking upriver from Lawrenceburg.
I think I got to select my other screen, so give me a moment. How about now?
There we go.
Lawrenceburg logo and all that?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, I think we're good now. Thanks for allowing Dearborn County Convention Visitor Tourism Bureau, the City of Aurora, City of Lawrenceburg, and One Dearborn to partner for a regional approach to this program. This view might look familiar because the Ohio River Recreation Trail, as some of you may recall, you had a meeting at Ivy Tech overlooking the Ohio River in Lawrenceburg back in 2019. And this photo right here was taken right outside that on the Ohio River front. And Janet, you mentioned your sunsets in Augusta. Well, we get pretty nice sunrises overlooking the Ohio River, being on the side of the river we're on. And that's sunrise, of course, prior to a 5K that we had a few years back. So Dearborn County, where are we situated at on the Ohio River? Well, we're firmly in the Cincinnati region, just across the Indiana-Ohio state line, Ohio River miles 490 through 483. And zooming in on Dearborn County here, the city of Lawrenceburg, closer to the state line, and then downriver near the bend in the Ohio River is Aurora, Indiana. Some of the local tributaries we have to the Ohio River include the Whitewater River, although the Whitewater River is where it touches Dearborn County is more in the northeastern part of the county. It does eventually connect to the Great Miami River, which does have its mouth at the Ohio River right near the Indiana-Ohio state line. The Great Miami River runs through a portion of the Oxbow Nature Preserve, which is kind of also part of our region, and we'll have folks from Oxbow as part of our team here for the Rivertown Review. Tanner's Creek running right through Lawrenceburg, Hogan Creek coming through Aurora under the historic George Street Bridge, and Lothry Creek, which is the border between Dearborn and Ohio counties, and of course Ohio County. Its seat is Rising Sun, which y'all are familiar with as one of your first round communities. The city of Aurora, established 1845, just under 4,000 residents there. And Aurora, a historic river town situated 35 miles west of Cincinnati, settled in the early 1800s, and strong historic connection to the Ohio River. Aurora, full of unique and historic buildings that preserve its older river city characteristics. Lawrenceburg, Indiana, established 1802. Their population just under 5,000. Dearborn County's seat, that's where our courthouse is located. Considered the gateway into southeastern Indiana for the Cincinnati region. The area began to be settled in the late 1700s by westward moving settlers using flatboats, and the river played a big role in the early development of the city. And like Aurora, also a lot of historic buildings and history connected to the Ohio River. And Lawrenceburg and Aurora alike have invested in new parks and a lot of contemporary amenities. And so some of those amenities that we have here in Dearborn County that kind of may pertain or be of interest to this initiative. Perfect North Slopes, a very popular ski area. They just wrapped up their season, unfortunately, as the weather has warmed up here lately, but they are located just outside Lawrenceburg. The Dearborn Trail is a walking trail link between Lawrenceburg and Aurora. Hollywood Casino in Lawrenceburg, Lawrenceburg Event Center, and Doubletree Hotel is built right on the river levee in Lawrenceburg, overlooking the river. Hill Forest Museum, a National Historic Landmark on the hill in Aurora with a great view of the river from up there. Lawrenceburg Speedway, Lesko Park on the river in Aurora. The Lawrenceburg Civic Park, brand new award-winning civic park, just opened a couple of years ago. The River Cities Bike Share program is interesting. Guinevere had mentioned that earlier, and that has been a hugely successful kind of draw and amenity on the Dearborn Trail, where folks can rent bikes through an app and take them down from Lawrenceburg to Aurora or vice versa and turn them in at various kiosks in either city. The Lighthouse Point Yacht Club also have a number of marinas. Gabbard Riverfront Park, a fairly new park overlooking the river in downtown Aurora. And there's new businesses popping up around that. The Oxbow Nature Preserve, I mentioned that and how the Great Miami River winds through that area. The USS Sasham Ghost Ship. I see this pop up all the time and, all these points of interest sort of websites, but I'm going to just assume a lot of you are familiar with the Sasham Ghost Ship. It's actually in Kentucky. Can't recall the name of the creek, but it's right across from Lawrenceburg is where that ghost ship is located. So folks will sometimes put their kayaks, canoes in Lawrenceburg and paddle across the river and go up that little creek and check out the ghost ship. And of course, River Watch Restaurant, a big, great place to do lunch or dinner. Looking forward to them opening for the 2021 season here very soon. They're on the river in Lawrenceburg. They're on a barge on the river. Really cool atmosphere to go and get a bite to eat. So again, thanks for having us participate as a region. And I do want to invite Guinevere and Debbie with Convention or Visitor Tourism Bureau to chime in with any thoughts you guys might have.
This is Debbie. Thanks, Mike, for putting that together. That's a beautiful picture. One of the things I just kind of want to say is last year, once we were able to kind of open up the visitor center, still, shorten hours, it was wonderful to see people on our bike share, using the bike share program and seeing them go up and down the street, Walnut Street, and either bringing their own bikes or using the bike share program. So that has just been an incredible resource for us, being able to have bikes available for people so they can travel to the two cities and stop and have lunch in either city. And so that's just been a positive. So we're really excited for this year coming. I think it's going to be, the bike share will be opening sometime in April. So, Guinevere, do you have?
Yes. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry. Can you see me or hear me?
We see you. We're still looking at Mike's screen. If you're trying to share your screen, Mike needs to share his.
No, that's okay. I don't have any presentation materials, but everything I've seen so far has just been amazing. So we've got so many things to be excited about here in Dearborn County. I know I represent the city of Lawrenceburg. I was the past city manager for the city of Aurora. And, we have some private developments that are going, the connections that you've already talked about too. But with the city of Lawrenceburg, I just wanted to share, they we've just completed a council retreat, and the mayor's initiative along with council is to really focus on, especially with our comprehensive plan that we're moving forward with right now, is riverfront development. It's going to be one of the big primary focuses of the next several years. The Dearborn Trail, it's a riverfront trail that connects the cities of Lawrenceburg and Aurora with connections in place moving forward with the city of Greendale. And it just has been phenomenal with riverfront improvements, not only in Lawrenceburg planned, but the improvements along the Dearborn Trail in Aurora, the city of Aurora, with the Gabbard Riverfront Park and pergola swing corridors. We're trying to get some more opportunities to enjoy the Ohio River with riverfront improvements again here in the city of Aurora or Lawrenceburg, which is just going to be phenomenal. And there's such consensus from the community, the elected officials. It's just great. I will say with the Dearborn Trail, you know, and the impacts of COVID and the River Cities Bike Share program, connecting all of these recreational opportunities, especially with the Ohio River as a magnificent asset. You know, we have some data, which I get excited about, the numbers through Tri-State Trails. 184,000 people have utilized the Dearborn Trail since 2017. 10,500 people have used the River Cities Bike Share program. And the name, when we created that program, where we created the program in Aurora, and then Lawrenceburg joined as municipal partner, the River Cities in essence is highlighting that, again, magnificent asset. But 10,500 people have utilized that program since 2017, the same timeline, but our numbers had jumped last year, which was phenomenal, which was just absolutely phenomenal, in part because of COVID. You know, I'd like to see, you know, as we move forward with this process from the tourism aspect, I look out at the river and it has such potential, but from the recreational boating aspect, it seems underutilized, completely underutilized. My fiance and his partner have just purchased Lighthouse Point Yacht Club, which is in Dearborn County, right on Lafayette Creek in the Ohio River, next to the historic Riverview Cemetery and Speakman House. Both are you know, and the Triple Whipple Bridge. So there's so many historic elements of the river view and experience, from Rising Sun, the city of Aurora, the city of Lawrenceburg. That connectivity, that trail is exciting to see. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is to see how to utilize that more from a recreational aspect, you know, for boating, tourism, you know, the connections that are enhanced and proposed moving forward, so we can, you know, really admire and utilize and attract tourism with the Ohio River.
Thank you, Guinevere. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to save time for Switzerland County. Mike, if you wouldn't mind unsharing your screen, and then we'll hand it off to John Smith to tell us a little bit about Vivi in Switzerland County. John, you need to unmute.
My apologies. I thought I was unmuted. I also believe that Micah King is on from our staff, our information specialist, and I wanted to recognize that. I moved to Vivi about a year ago from Washington, D.C. I was with the Department of Interior, the Associate Director for Cultural Resources, 4 presidents and about 20 secretaries of the Interior. So I made a big change. I bought a Francis Costigan mansion, one of the original French families. And before going to DC, I was the director of the State Preservation Office. So I knew, you know, all the resources throughout the state. And Vivi was always very special to me. There was always something quirky and funky and different about it. And I don't think it was, just obviously the French colonial architecture is phenomenal, with degrees in architectural history and architecture, in anthropology. We have among the earliest buildings, not only in the tri-state, but if you did like an analysis of the building stock nationally, it's pretty amazing what we have in this region, and especially immediately in Vivi with all the log construction and the French colonials. Now, quite a few are hidden under vinyl and many things, but they're there. Vivi's always been really quirky. It was a holdout for the Shawnee. Andrew Jackson was not able to remove a group. They welcomed the Gypsies. And then in the 60s, it was on the hippie trail. And quite a few of our famous artists are from New York on their way to San Francisco, Boston, wherever, and ended up staying. So it's kind of a rural, cool, quirky, funky, very different from Madison, even though it's only 15, 20 minutes away. But our resources are extremely interesting. We have Amish country with 3 distinct Amish communities, and dealing with, how do you respectfully interpret and celebrate their culture without being invasive is a huge issue that we're dealing with. I would say that, our main, of course, we've got the grand mansions, we've got, you could teach 19th century American architecture from Market Street here on the river. But I would say, that our biggest challenges are we have so much potential. We have many challenges. We have so much potential, and we're starting to see the boom that that Madison has had, and they've been very, very helpful in assisting us. We demographically are not a wealthy county, and we have a lot of challenges. But our major goals, and I'll truncate my exhibit a little bit, or my presentation, promotion, any event that we can promote, that's primarily what we're doing. And we've got some very cool things coming up. We have a public art exhibit. I don't know if you know the legend of Fred the Goat, but it was this goat that became beloved. It was this kind of wild goat that would wander down, and it was, decades that this goat was around. So we're doing a Fred the Goat public art exhibit. It's going to kick off at the end of May and Memorial Day. It's going to be very cool. All these local artists are doing kind of like the apples in New York, or the racehorses in Louisville, or the race cars in Indy, that kind of thing. Another big challenge is even just raising the awareness of the historic structures and what's unique to the locals. And the challenge of, explaining what you have is unique and important. And that's a big hurdle, because we've got a lot of very kind, humble people that don't realize that this is important, what we have here. Our building stock and the stories are phenomenal. We were at the forefront of the debate of abolition. The French, in one of the books, this is actually really pretty popular. It's the American Vine Dresser's Guide by the Dufour family, one of the original French families. And in this, they say, in order to have an opera, Thomas Jefferson thought this was the wine region of America. And that was kind of the genesis. But in Dufour's book, he talks about what you have to start a successful vineyard. And the most expensive item is 5 strong Negro families. So they were very pro-slavery. And then we also had abolitionists from New England, and actually identified in a major Underground Railroad researcher is Diane Kuhn-Perrin. We have 4 districts for the Underground Railroad that we have not interpreted or celebrated in any way. So we're going to start a fellowship named after a very generous philanthropist, Paul Ogle, that's going to do more interpretation and more research into these areas that we're deficient in. So basically, I would say that our biggest business recruitment, just, when somebody comes in here and they have an idea for a business, we have huge problem with vacant storefronts, and we're chipping away at it. So it's good to see two new businesses moving into Main Street that I found out about this weekend. I'm sure it's the same with all of you. If you get a call, you go. And the good thing here is nothing's more than 2 blocks away, so it's pretty easy. Anyway, but that's kind of a condensed version of my presentation. I hope you were able to see Satoli Glassmeyer. If you've never used him, his heart is totally in the interpretation and documentation of the tri-state Ohio River Valley. His program is History in Your Own Backyard. He's fantastic, and he did that video. If you haven't seen it, hopefully you can take a few minutes and look at it. It'll explain the resources that I'm talking about. So anyway.
Thank you, John. Yeah, I looked at that video this morning. It's outstanding. Great job.
It's fun. It's not overproduced. It's just fun.
Well, listen, our time is running out. I want to hand it back to Russ here in just a moment and obviously answer any questions you may have. But to tee things up, as we have these 3 communities, each community has a point person from our team. So for example, I'll be the point person for the Dearborn County Community Review. David Wicks is our point person for Switzerland County, and we actually got a tag team of Brewster Rhodes and Jody Robinson will be the point persons for Augusta. So you'll be hearing from each of us directly about the process going forward. Russ, can you just chime in with a couple of comments about what happens over the next 2 months?
Yes, thank you, Jack. Yeah, our point persons will be contacting each community to start scheduling a workshop for probably May. We want to get feet on the ground in late April to look at the communities, but we'd like to start scheduling the actual workshops in May. And I know there are some areas of the month that work better for communities than others. So we want to look at you folks providing them with some dates that might work. And then we'll see how we can bring the team into that. There's a lot of schedules to coordinate here, but once we zero in on a date, we are all focused and we will prepare a venue that will bring in those fresh eyes for your community. So look for the contact person to reach out to help schedule those dates, and they will also work out some community visits prior to the actual workshops.
Great, thank you, Russ. I know David has a comment to make, but before I hand it over to David, are there any questions from the 3 community groups that we can help answer right away? I know we've pounded you with a lot of information in the last 60 minutes or so. Well, very good. We all look forward to working with each community. David, you wanted to say a word about something going on in Louisville right now? I'm not hearing you, David. You might be on mute.
How about now?
There you go.
Anyway, in Louisville, at the Louisville Free Public Library, we have a exhibit that is started called Rivers of Life, Cities and Towns Along the Mighty Ohio, and it opens this Friday, March 26th. And what it really does is look at, we've drawn a picture of the river. It's about 100-foot long gallery, and have got geographic photographs, you know, on the maps. And it features a artist and photographer named Reuben Gold Thwaites, who used to be chair of the Wisconsin Historical Society. 1893, he floated on down the river. And here's a picture of Vivi that he took, which is up on our wall, 1893. But photographs of each town going up and down the river. We also have current day photographs on there, as well as a brochure rack for towns. We have about, I think, 18 different communities represented, and our dream is that over the next 6 months, they're going to have probably 30,000 Louisvillians walk through the library to see this exhibit. And it's our goal to share river towns up and down to encourage people from Louisville to go. So as Brewster said, it's not only encouraging people from nationally to go, but it's really encouraging people in Louisville, Cincinnati, or people from Vevey going to Augusta and experiencing the river. So it's just part of our piece. We're really looking forward to working with all the communities and thinking about how we can help our communities understand the value of our history and the value of the river and how it connects all of us. So I just look forward to it. And maybe I'll throw it over to Brewster for any final comments.
Brewster's
I have a comment. We will be asking for some supporting documentation and information from you going into this, and we look forward to looking at that. But I wanted to say that we're not doing our Rivertown reviews to you, or not even really for you, but with you. And we look forward to working with you to see all that we can accomplish for your community going forward.
Thank you, Andrea. Guinevere had a question in the chat, and I think I can answer that. You asked if we could share the contact list in the exhibit slides. We can do that. In fact, David, you will probably, since you're recording this, you can turn that into a YouTube link, and maybe I could distribute that when that's ready. Is that okay, David?
And I'll do the chat as well. So if you have not put your name and contact information in the chat, please do. And that will just confirm everybody else. And I'll send that hopefully today or tomorrow up to Jack, and he can distribute it to everybody.
Thank you, David. Any other questions or comments? We've exhausted our 60 minutes and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. It's exciting to get this round 2 underway, and we'll be reaching out to all of you over the next several weeks. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.